May I have a motion to return to public meeting, please?
So moved.
Mr. Mitchell? Second. Mr. Soni? All in favor?
Aye.
We need to approve the minutes of the executive board meeting on February 27th, as well as the board meeting of February 27, 2025. Are there any changes to the minutes? All right. None? Okay, approved.
None, yeah.
All right. Yep. All right. The next order of business is the report of the student representative, Samira.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So starting off with some school news from the high school. Student Council has been busy as we plan our upcoming pep rally next Friday, April 4th. Our theme for the spring pep rally will be circus, and our spirit days are as follows. So Monday is prepare to be hypnotized, which is lazy day. Tuesday is spots and stripes. Wednesday is wacky sock Wednesday. Thursday is looking into the future, which is just like wearing collared shirts and future careers. And Friday is our spirit can't be tamed class color day. Last Friday, the South Brunswick Library welcomed National Book Award winning author Patricia McCormick. Students and staff were treated to a wonderful day of learning as Mrs. McCormick discussed her fiction and nonfiction writing, her research trips to Nepal and India, and the book challenges her novels have faced. The visit was made possible by the generosity of the high school PTO. Our junior prom is planned for May 16th aboard the Cornucopia in Perth Amboy from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. The boat leaves promptly at 6:30. Packets are available in the activities office, house office outside A313 and C312. Our senior prom is planned for June 6th at the Marigold from 5:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Packets are available in the activities office as well. The class of 2028 is selling t-shirts in 2 different shades of pink for $10. They are selling them on the 21st, the 25th, and the 28th in the freshman cafeteria during all lunches. SB Earth presents Upcycle Night on April 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. in the blue cafeteria. There will be tie-dyeing t-shirts, planting flowers, and more. Ticket prices are $5 and $7 at the door. Pizza and baked goods will also be sold, and 2 NHS hours will be provided. That's all I have for everyone. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you, Samira. All right, next order of business is the report of the superintendent of schools, Mr. Feddo.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to say Madam President. So we have our awesome, incredible Joanne Kirkus Student Art Gallery. Mark your calendars, everyone, April 23rd. If you have not been, you absolutely need to cancel whatever you have and go. It is truly spectacular at all levels. The program, I mean, I don't know, the high school usually even puts on some surprises. I don't know if they're doing that this year with bands and all kinds of things, but it is absolutely one of the most impressive things I think this school district does as far as showing kids talent, their pride in themselves and their work. It is fabulous. So it is 4 to 8 p.m. The art teachers are there from 6 to 8 p.m. And there's a sneak peek, I guess, but stay in touch and reach out to, I guess, Evelyn, maybe? Why not? Yeah, Evelyn, why not? Reach out to Evelyn. Anything that you need on this night, try and get there. It's great. And to the parents watching, this is a stunner, and it is crowded. It is super crowded. So just be prepared and eat before you come, because you're not going to want to leave. And I still believe we have a big miss to solve our budget crisis. We should be selling all those items at the end. Kids get 3%, district gets 97%. And we would no longer have a budget crisis, because I'm telling you, some of these pieces are off the charts spectacular. So again, strongly encourage you to go. Reggie, are you got a video for us? All right, so if we can just turn around, everybody, and watch a quick video. That's probably it. Yeah, it was a quick little, little PSA.
We were waiting for more.
Little PSA announcement. So another piece of information, board members, you might get questioned on these kind of things. The preschool lottery on Friday, March 21st, I think Deepa was our honorary watcher checker, make sure we did it right. Friday, March 21st, emails were sent to all the families who applied. This email was to let the parents know if they were secured a spot or if they were placed on a waiting list. School assignments will be made closer to the end of the school year. So we worked through the school assignments, and just a recap for our families, we added 6 preschools next year. And Suzanne will correct me if I'm incorrect. Sapner School? Sapling School, okay, mistake. Sapling School will have 3 sections, and the learning experience will have 3 as well. And I think Sapling is on 27, and learning experience is right if you're coming north on Route 1, right before you turn on to Black Horse Lane, that's learning experience. And these are schools that Suzanne and Megan and her team vetted and feel will do a great job for our students. And that is our outsourcing of 6 of the programs. And we're still working through all the others. Suzanne runs the show with Megan, and the other key partner is Jill Odignon, our transportation director. She actually kind of runs the show, and we kind of listen to whatever she tells us. But Suzanne and Megan run that, and on the back end of our preschool is Kelly, who handles a great deal of the grant side of that work. And we have a ton of money devoted to this, and what has been really a strong value to the district outside of free preschool, which in itself is extremely valuable. Hello, Om. Is we're able to use that grant to support other funding. So David, Kelly, Suzanne, Megan, and Megan's taken the brunt of this one, works really hard with the state to identify how we're allowed to do that, so we follow the protocols. But listen, the preschool, if you were with us the first year we opened it, it was a rough go. That was not an easy thing to open in the middle. And we were forced, if you remember, we were forced to open like in February. And that was a rough first year. Since then, it is one of the most valuable things we've done for this community. And a lot of people do a lot of amazing work every day in that preschool program, and they deserve a huge thanks. So anyway, the lottery's out. We're up to 450 kids next year, which is amazing. That means 450 of our family, 450 students worth of families now have free preschool full day, which is amazing. So unfortunately, we're not at full scale yet. I think our full scale is probably, the real full scale is 800 divided times by 90, so 725 kids would be our full universe, as they call it in the state. But fantastic, and thanks to all. So we had our first Parent Academy. We had the 3-part series on the anxious generation. It's a book. And I think I've shared before, I still believe the anxious generation is whoever's living now, not necessarily an age of a person. We are in the anxious generation. We are living in a generation where social media is almost unavoidable, where the information flow is so extensive that it does put a lot on all of us as we try to keep up. And the old term of keeping up with the Joneses is taking on a whole new world with social media and the constant flow of information. So we had the first night and we had the second night. That was 2 weeks ago on March 18th. And our third night, which is, anyone can come. So if you didn't come to the first 2, still come. We have a speaker for that one as well, and that's a kid panel. This is an excellent one. By the way, board members, if you haven't been able to make one, April 2nd, this is a student panel. Yep. Fantastic. And then we have some of our behaviorists and some of our other professionals who are all chipped in to make this exceptional. And I really I'm doing a lot of promoting tonight. I really believe this is another can't miss event. If you've been to our former events that used to be held on Saturdays, about social media and technology, the highlight of that event usually was the student panels. So this is a night for student panels. I expect to see you there April 2nd. So really, come and participate. We all have, I've learned so far both nights. There's a lot to learn, and hearing perspectives is pretty incredible when you think about what's going on. So that's it. I'll be doing a budget. David and I'll be talking about budget a little later when we get into old business, and we'll take it from there. Thank you, Madam President.
Yeah. Question.
Yeah, on these these particular parent academies, are they going to be loaded on the website?
No.
Can we or no?
Well, we didn't record them, so we could not actually load them on the website.
We wanted,
People to be here, not to.
No, I know, but it would have been great to have them up after.
It's a different feel. 'cause
It's a different
It's an interactive thing.
Okay.
So it's not just sitting there watching a presentation.
Okay.
So it really
And
wouldn't
it's
blend
personal
itself
too,
well to that.
Okay, and just kudos to the district. I can't believe it's 20 years for this art district. This is kind of blowing my mind that it's been 20 years. So kudos to the staff for doing it. Thank you.
Sony has a question.
Oh, yes, Rajesh.
Elaborate, I think there has been an increase.
Into the mic, Rajesh.
For the preschool expansion, have we expanded for the number of schools or number of students from last year? Can you just elaborate?
Yeah, we
on that
did.
one?
We expanded 6 more classrooms. Each classroom has 15 students, so we went 90 more students in this 1 year. We did the same last year. We expanded 90. And what the preschool, what the state wants you to do is reach your preschool, what they call your preschool universe. The preschool universe is 90% of the sum of your kindergarten and first grade. So that's really right now about 725, 750 kids would be our 90%. So what we do every year, just so we can do it, is we invite programs in the town who are interested in partnering with us. And so then Suzanne brings a team from the preschool. They go and they tour the schools, talk to them. Some people reach out to us, not realizing some of the things that would have to be done. Like anyone who does our program has to use our curriculum. They have to follow our rules, and we evaluate their programs. So we assist in all of that as well. So it's a pretty big undertaking to use the outsourcing, but if we didn't use the outsourcing, we'd be out of space.
Of course.
And therefore, the parents would lose out on the opportunity, which would not be great. Thanks.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
All right, any more questions? All right, okay. The next order of business, we had a board brief with Mass Cheers.
Yeah, I'll talk real quick.
Sure.
So the board had the opportunity to meet with Massio's Food Service prior to our board meeting this evening. Prior to our executive session, they provided us with a spring tasting. They also introduced us to a new chef, Chef Eric Rutter, and our director, Robin Zuno, was there as well. They're not here to present with us because they presented to us during the tasting. So our board brief occurred prior to our executive session. So that's Massio's Food Service. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. All right, the next order of business is board committee and liaison reports. I see Ms. Khan is not here, so for policy, we'll skip that. For finance, Ms. Rogers, do you have any report?
Yes, thank you very much. The Finance Committee has a planned meeting for this Monday, the 31st. So we'll be meeting then, and I'll have an update after that. Thank you.
Thank you. For operations, Mr. Krishna?
Yeah, we have not had a meeting as yet. We are planning to have one, and then maybe in the next board meeting, we'll be able to give it.
Thank you. For Education Committee, Dr. Raj?
The Education Committee met on 24th of this month, and everybody were present, and the committee was given an update on national anthem, on the topic of national anthem, which was from the previous board meeting. The committee was informed that there will be language included so that the national anthem will be there will be an opportunity for kids to understand the historical and cultural significance of national anthem. And the committee was also updated on restorative practices. So there is very good things happening there, and the details of the meeting minutes will be uploaded on the board portal shortly.
So Dr. Suzanne Lagbon shared the restorative practices with the board.
Miss Susan Lagbon actually shared the restorative practices, a bunch of slides on the restorative practices update with the entire board.
Thank you, Dr. Raj. Okay, so the next is the liaison reports. And do we have any liaison reports? Okay, all right. Let's move on to old business. Over to Mr. Feder.
It's easier for me to just go up there. So sorry. Thank you, sorry.
You want me to stand
Madam
up?
President.
Okay. You want me to stand up? Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Everybody, Dave is back for the night, visiting us. Yay! I know, left here looks great. All right, so we put together kind of an update. So the slides in blue will be new slides that you didn't see. I'm going to brief quickly through the old slides. This is how I do it, so we keep informing the community of where we are, what's going on, and our blue slides give us a bit of an update. So state aid, of course, is the key issue. To drill this into everyone's head, what seems to be a never-ending conundrum is the state continues to raise our local fair share. And this year they raised an extraordinary amount of money, 15%. Remember, the local fair share is the local side of the funding we get to run the schools. As you know, our state aid number, of course, declines every year, significantly in some years. But the reason that is because of the local fair share number. Now, the part that we're very confused about with the formula is how did that occur when our ratables are a third of what they've been in the past? And the ratables, remember, are associated with values, and so is the local fair share. So we don't understand the disconnect there. And of course, there is nobody to ask and get an answer from. But that has caused us again to sit in the negative. And as you can see, last year, you guys did a good thing in the sense of getting us closer to adequacy. And, you know, our last year's adequacy, we got close. We raised the 8.9% and got really close. Then what did they do? They pulled the rug out from under us, right? And they jacked it up again, so we can't get to adequacy. So while we took a chunk out of it, we're still at under $5 million. And again, what adequacy means is we should be spending $5 million more, according to the state, to support our students' learning. We should be. You know the rules, we can't be. And even if we did that, apparently they're just going to raise our local fair share again and say you're still under adequacy. It's very hard to comprehend. It's very frustrating, as you know. So our state aid was cut. As you know, this year they maxed the amount of loss at 3% of your total cum of state aid. So our state aid last year was 14,275. So minus 3% is what they cut us. But I am going to point out again this, because you're going to need to remember this. If they don't cap the loss again, our state aid is not supposed to be 13.8 according to their formula. It is supposed to be 12. That's what it would be if they didn't cap the loss at 3%. It would be 12, meaning we wouldn't be where we are. We'd be $1.8 million further short. Why we mention that is what Dave and my concern is if they start us at that number when they rerun the formula again next year, it could be a catastrophic amount of money again. And if they don't come in with some kind of last-minute savior, we're in trouble. Like we're already in trouble, but we're in real trouble. Like, I won't be able to solve that kind of trouble. Like, David won't be able to solve that kind of trouble. You've seen other districts in that kind of trouble. They sell buildings. I think Tom's River was selling a giant like an admin building. Jackson is on its second school for sale. Middletown announced the other day they're selling 2 schools. And I know there are districts right now that have class size in the K-5 of over 30, and the high schools are over 40. We know that is fact. Sadly, as I remind us every time I talk about the budget, we are not far behind. But we're better than the average of, of bad, I guess. If the average was bad, we'd be in the middle somewhere. So the other money we lost this year was our stabilization aid. Last year, they gave us the $645,000. So we spent, or accounted for it. This year, we don't account for it. So our sum deficit is over $1 million. Before the 2% cap, we're starting at minus $1 million. So that's the reminder of that. This is, again, just the reminder of where our money goes, right? These are the categories that represent the largest sums of our money. And obviously, most of the money is in salary and benefits. That's 75% of your funding. Transportation's a big nugget. And there you go. There are other miscellaneous in there, but this is the big ticket items. So then what we do to look at that is we look and say, okay, if salaries, for example, are 57% of the budget, and the budget was $157 million, that means salaries represent about $90 million of the budget. Well, if salaries are going up by 3.5%, which is contractual, that means you're at $3.1 million just in salaries. The problem is a 2% cap only gets you to $2.7 million. So before you even get to the benefits question, you're minus $400,000. Now let's add, plus the $1 million, remember. So you're at minus $1.4 million. Now you have benefits. So benefits, which I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown for you again so you can see it again. Out of anyone's control, the cost of benefits, and we met with a large team of benefits people today. We met with Aetna, we met with our brokers, we met with the health center folks. That was Dave and I, and I'd say we pretty much demanded what we need to prove, and the big thing you're looking at is the inflation cost of healthcare. That's a main player. It doesn't matter where you are. There's an inflation cost to do the same procedure today as it was last year. That is about a 10 to 13% increase in healthcare, not South Brunswick, but to do the same procedures. That was my question. My question was this: if we had 1,000 procedures done last year, and we did the exact same 1,000 procedures this year, how much difference would it cost? The answer is somewhere between 10 to 13%. That's about what healthcare's running.
Can you clarify what a procedure? I think it's important.
I don't care if the procedure is a broken leg.
I want to be clear.
I don't know.
Procedure is, no. A procedure is an operation,
It can be anything. I'm being hypothetical.
Yes, that's good. No, I want
Okay.
us to be clear on that.
I can't be clearer than it's 1,000 things.
No.
I don't care if they're called, I'm going to remove the word procedure. 1,000 things were done last year, and the same exact 1,000 things were done this year. That would be a 10 to 13% increase, nothing to do with South Brunswick or the staff or the people or anything.
Right.
That's the cost of inflation in healthcare last year.
Thank you.
The other piece, which I'm going to show you more, is related to RX, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But that number in benefits, we're better than the standard right now at 11.5%, and that's probably because of all the things we do. But it's still $3.2 million, right? So if you're $3.2 million and you're already over, now you're over $3.2 million more dollars. Then you get into energy costs. Then you get into transportation increases, supplies, and all of it. At the end of the day, when we put all into the pocket, everything in, when David reloads the budget, to keep everything, we start with everything we're doing now. That's how we start the budget process. So we roll over the budget. When we roll over the budget, We are at a deficit of $3.5 million. That's our deficit. Now, it should be, you think it might be a little higher than that, but it's not, because we're applying a 3.5% increase to get to that deficit. That's after we apply. If we apply at 2%, we're at a $5.5 million deficit. But we'll talk a little bit more about why we can go to 3.5. The board has the option to do that. So let me just go with the impact, assuming we're going to be at a $3.5 million deficit. These are the things that are going to be impacted significantly. Class size is going to have an impact. The good news, we're in really good shape there. We can handle the impact, but it's going to happen. Staffing is a result of that as well. All kinds of staffing all over the place, staffing. So when we meet with committee on Monday, we'll be more specific. We're still working this through. At the next budget update and board meeting, we'll have real examples of that for everyone to see. We have various supports and resources. Those things go into deficit. We have to cut some, but we are doing our best to hold off on programming, which I'll talk about. This one is extremely important. We are again going to have to hold off on needed facility repairs. And this is something that the board is going to have to consider. And it's a similar conversation we've had on other topics. We can do these, but we'll show you what the cost will be of other things. Any more we do in the reductions will hit programming and quality of schooling. We are able to get to 3.5%, 3.5 million, almost, without drastic impact to schooling. There's impact, and all the things we're going to have to do will have impact. But if we have to go to another cost of a roof level impact, or $2.5 million more dollars, it's going to be the kind of impact that is going to reshape the type of education our kids get. That's where we are. We're on the cusp. And we'll talk more as we go. We do anticipate some reducing in size of programming. I'll give you an example of size of programming. Right now, if we have 300 students that want to go out for track, we fund that. We might have to come to a place, and I'm not actually saying track. So again, anyone who's listening, I'm not actually saying track. I'm giving you an example of track. I don't need all the track families out tomorrow to say, why are you cutting track? I'm not cutting track. But it might mean we can't have 300. We might only be able to afford to have 200. That's reducing it, but not eliminating track. So that could happen in various places as well. It's the next layer that starts to eliminate, not just reduce. Oops, sorry. The big thing is disruption. And disruption has a direct impact on schooling. So the next layer of reductions, whether it be staffing reductions, program reductions, or whatever kind of reductions they are, we're at the cusp of significant disruption. That's where we are. So we'll work through that in committee and go more into depth on that at the next board meeting as well. So the health insurance I shared last week, I'll go really quick. We know the GLP-1s, for people who don't know what that is, that's the Ozempics of the world. That one line item alone went up $1.1 million. $1.1 million. And speaking to Dr. Che this morning, as our doctor at the health center, she hasn't prescribed one dose. we don't prescribe that at the health center. So it isn't related to any of that. It's related to the fact that this is, some people would call it a miracle drug that's on the market. And it's not just Ozempic, that's the category. Smitha could probably do a better job of explaining this than I can, but that's the category. They're called GLP-1s. And that one line item is up $1.1 million. That's not how much we spend, that's what we're up year over year. The other big hit is anti-inflammatory medications. They share with us today Humira falls into that category. If you don't know what Humira is, you can see it on TV. Just turn on TV for a few hours, you'll get a Humira commercial. It's apparently a ridiculously expensive drug, and doctors are prescribing these things. So what was really interesting today in meeting with Aetna, they have some ideas and some things. So similar to other ways that you manage things, you have to spend a little to hopefully reduce a little. And they have some ideas, and our team will be meeting with them to hear what the kind of concepts are, to see if we think that's for us and see what it really means. What we can't do is just change the insurance availability for our staff. So in other words, you cannot legally reduce a thing. You have to do what's called same or equal to, no matter what we do. So we can't say, you know what, those anti-inflammatory drugs are so expensive, we're just not doing those anymore. Sorry, our insurance no longer covers those. We are not legally allowed to do that. If you ever wanted to make a change of significance to healthcare, that has to be done at the negotiations table. There is no just deciding to do that. So just so you're aware, you can't just think that that's the answer. Anyway, the cost of procedures, that 10 to 13%, when we do a year over year, was at $1.8 million. What we are doing right now, we've tasked, not the health center company, we've tasked a different group to get us the ROI on the health center. And we're going to produce that for you. It won't be by May. I don't think it'll be done that quickly, but we gave them a pretty hefty project to do that Dave and I put forward today. And that is the full assessment of the ROI on the health center, which is really important that you know that and you understand it, because it isn't clean, right? Healthcare is not always perfect, but I'm personally not satisfied until I get these next layer of results. And it's pretty extensive what we've asked, but I thought their interest in helping us was pretty significant. I mean, they got it. It was really a really positive 2-hour meeting this morning. And it's needed. You need to have that information. It's not okay for me to just say, hey, health center's doing great. Hey, this is working. You should say, show me the money, Scott. Show me that. So we're going to do that for you. We're going to show you. I want to see it. Dave wants to see it. We want to make sure that our investment is working. And if our investment is not producing the results we want, how do we do that? How do we fix that? What do we need to do? What does it look like? I'll give you an example. Or just 1 second, and I'll listen. So my example is PT, physical therapy. We are booked solid with physical therapy. That means every time someone gets physical therapy downstairs, in the board office, they are not going to get a claim for physical therapy. So what we do now is we look and say, wow, well, how much usage are we getting? We have them for 2 days here, and the same therapist who seems to be beloved is going to Franklin Park to their center. So if you want physical therapy 4 times a week, Franklin Park, the center is only 4 miles away. Our staff goes there for free as well. So it's available and it's booked at both sites. Like you can't get an appointment as quickly as you can. Like I can call right now and tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I can go get blood work. I can go see a doctor. That's how great the service is for our staff. But if it was physical therapy, I'd probably not be able to get my appointment exactly where I want it to be. That's how booked it is. So when we learn that, we can also look and see how much physical therapy is happening outside of the health center. And you can also see what kind of physical therapy. What do we need to do? Should we, ask the question, should we increase our physical therapy time? And that would become an ROI on the one thing. So that's the layer of work we're doing, and we want even more than that. So, Rajesh, you had a hand up.
Yeah, I just had a question. So 3.4 million is year-over-year increase that we pay to the insurance provider, right? For these sets of drugs.
Correct, because it's our claims, but not fully, because we also get over $4 million in contributions to our healthcare program. So the contributions help offset our total healthcare cost. But yes, the increases in 1 year, mostly due to RX, which is a massive amount of RX. I mean, RX is only $6.5 million. So to go up by 1.6 million on 6.5 million, the percentage, which I know you can do quickly, that's pretty bad. That's a very big problem in the healthcare industry right now. Mm-hmm. And the healthcare industry, the RX across the board is about 29% increase in RX. So that's a problem. That is very difficult right now. But yes.
These procedures are not covered by the health center. These sets of, the ones which are listed.
It's possible that some people don't go to the health center. Remember, they don't have to go to the health center. But we have a breakout, no names, we never know who the people are, but we have a breakout of anything at all we want related to what kind of procedures are being done. But mostly Dave and I don't do that work, our brokers do that, so we don't get that intricate. But they'll look and say, hey, we're noticing that acupuncture is being used at a clip of $500,000 a year. Why don't we try and consider maybe bringing in acupuncture? And then reduce those costs significantly, which we did with PT, and it's been very effective. Right now, we just started chiropractic, and we are just starting acupuncture next month.
Yes, and chiropractic's pretty full.
Chiropractic got pretty full. It's only been open a few weeks. So that's what we're learning, Rajesh. That's how we can use this health center to do two things. First thing is not money. First thing is health for our staff. Second thing is money. And we're trying to do both simultaneously. Oh, go ahead. Smitha, no big words today. Okay.
Is it possible to see if there is overprescription? Can an analysis of that sort can be done?
So,
Can it be done?
Dave, come on up, talk about Remedy.
So when we first went self-insured years ago, we contracted with a company called Remedy Analytics. And Remedy Analytics, they're part of our healthcare, part of our prescription plan. And what they do is they analyze all of our prescriptions across the district that are assigned. And if there's prescriptions that have generics, but at the same time there are what they would call a Cadillac version, and the generic is not prescribed, what they do is they go back to Aetna and they require Aetna to provide us a rebate, the difference in the cost plus a penalty. So Remedy Analytics has been instrumental in assisting us in managing our prescription plan, and they do that for us. They've been doing that for us for years, and
Since we went self-insured.
Yeah, since we went self-insured, and they've been one of the companies that has been with us, for a long, long time. But they also provided a massive financial gain to the district by doing that for us. So yes, we do manage our prescription plan.
All right, I'll move on. So obviously the big elephant in the room, it's going to be in the room for many years, is enrollment. And really quickly, with our current projected reductions, our class size in K2 we expect to be between 19 and 20, 3-5 around 21, and 6-8 around 22. I have a 2-hour meeting scheduled tomorrow morning with the high school to go through all of their numbers. I'll be able to report back onto the committee on Monday and see where our class size is going to wind up. But class size is an area that is a lot of money in keeping our class size low. It's also complicated to change it without redistricting and or closing a building. That's where the real money is. But doing that has all kinds of problems, which we'll be talking about as we do the study, which we're into the K5 study. It's actually a K8 study and reconfigurations. There's going to be pros and cons to all kinds of options. But if you go back to the last word I had on the last slide, it was disruption. And while I'm not afraid of disruption, what I'm afraid of is disruption that actually hurts student learning. And you have to balance that point. So right now, at our first pass-through with some budget, the enrollment is reducing, which allows us to survive. If our enrollment hadn't been reducing, we'd be in far worse shape. So we continue to use the enrollment reductions to get through these budget cycles. So just important slide. You want to come up? It's an important slide. So basically, this is the tax impact we're looking at a 3.5% increase in the taxes this year. So if we look at the third column, increase, decrease, that is your ratables, that the amount of ratables increased or decreased by. If you go back to 2021, where we were getting reductions in taxes, even by increasing the amounts, look at the size of those ratables. Now, last year, we did the budget at a $57 million ratable, which is what we believed we were going to have. It only wound up being 18 million. which again hurt the tax a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. Our new number this year that we're being told to use is 38.6. Now, 38.6 is nowhere near the 100 millions. The 100 millions allow us to raise without any impact. But we're looking at a 3.5% increase next year, having a $227 impact. We were supposed to see a deficit here. This includes the dropping of $2.5 million of debt service. So, you know, this is a problem right now for us, because I know you don't want to raise taxes. I know I don't want to raise taxes. But it's going to be a conversation again about what do you not want to do anymore. And we just had a conversation earlier, which I'm not going to say about what, but that was a conversation. You want to do more of this and less of this? We're facing this. I'll remind you, because I like to say this, schools are funded in one way. It's taxes. Whether from the state, the local, or the feds. That's where schools are funded by. It costs a lot more to do business year over year due to the inflationary numbers and all kinds of other aspects we're all living with in our own personal lives. It doesn't change for schools. The net, however, is a beautiful number. The net average over 5 years as far as an increase on people's taxes is $42. That is still amazing, and still be where we are, providing the kind of program we're providing with all the things we do for our kids. Our music program is off the charts. Expensive as could be, but it's off the charts. We do things like that here for our kids, and it's expensive. And the largest part of the conversation is always going to be, if you don't want to spend, just tell me what you don't want us to do anymore. Because that's what it does come out to. You want higher class sizes, we can do that. And we can lower these numbers. But we are recommending to the board that on May 1st, you adopt a 3.51% increase. That will be our recommendation. But we're going to go through a lot more before it gets to that point. But we wanted to show you this slide because this is pretty much one of the impactful slides for the community and for the board. Quick snapshot. That's pretty much what we're looking at. We're looking at a 3.5% increase. What we've been doing, see our debt fund service is only down to $1.8 million, all we have left. So if we needed to build, you would be able to build to offset the other millions of dollars that are falling off the budget. But when you have low ratables, everything becomes an expense to the taxpayer. So, you know, we have to watch that, and you should be watching that as a board. So just some important things. The state aid is down $1 million. The healthcare waiver, I don't know if I've been clear. We're allowed to go above the 2% cap statutorily because of the healthcare costs. We have districts right now that are going up to 3% above the 2% due to their healthcare costs. This is a formula. This is how the formula breaks. We're recommending you use the full force of the formula. That $2 million is the extra 1.5%, which brings us to the 3.5% increase. And that's how much you would be adding to the budget, 4.6 million. The reality is, to keep things status quo, you need 8 million. But I will say, we can cut the first 2.5 million due to enrollment alone. The next million is going to hurt. So if I was saying to you, raise as much as you could, in good conscience, I couldn't tell you just to raise it to unbelievable numbers, because we can still do other things. The bottom line, however, is it's future years that are scary. And we're going to talk about that in a second as well. So this is the full impact. On a $200,000 assessed home, if you did the 2% and didn't use the healthcare waiver of $2 million, the average family would see a $144 increase, or $12 a month. The extra $2 million is only costing $4 and about 25 cents a month, or an extra $50 a year. It isn't going from 0 to 227. It's going from 175 to 227. That's an important distinction we wanted to make sure was clear. You're not starting at 0, but then because you're using a waiver, it's costing everyone a fortune. It's not. It's a little under 50 or about $50 a year, which is, I'm not saying that's nothing, but it's back to the discussion. What do you not want to do anymore? And this is how you've heard me testify to the state. Either fund schools or tell schools what you don't want us to do. You can't just keep giving us mandates and then cut money. It doesn't, no one functions that way. So that's where we are on this. David and I put down these general concerns we want to be clear about. This is a new slide. State finances and budget rules. Is this ever going to change? Or are we going to be in the same exact boat every year, kicking ourselves every January, February, March, April, and May? Like, is there a possible change in the future? We don't know. This is the big one. It's an unknown, we wrote this in a way specifically, it's an unknown enrollment impact, only semi-known where it will actually come depending on what gets built at what time, and it's an unknown amount of time before the impact even hits. So you're building a budget with a massive unknown component, not just finances, but kids. 3,400 homes on the docket. If you drove down Henderson right now, you'd see 3 buildings that look like they're pretty close to being done. If you drive out to Route 1 from the high school, you're going to see buildings started over there. If you go behind 4 Executive Drive, you're going to see a ton of building over there. Those are just the ones that have started. Then there's ones that haven't quite broken ground yet. So, as you know, we're staying in touch with the township to learn as much as we can. And even with that, a lot of unknowns are determining what's going to happen, even as early as next school year. I mentioned this before. This is what keeps David up at night, that we have real needs, and none of them are cheap. It's not cheap to fix a roof of a school building, and we have a couple of roofs that do need work that we have to figure out. These two are big. Yeah, we want to maintain our programs. We want to maintain reasonable class size. So those are concerns. And the big one is we have a K-5, now K-8, reconfiguration, look at enrollment, look at finances to see what we are going to need to recommend to the board in February for the 26-27 school year. Important, again, for any of the reporters who are watching, it's not for the 25-26 school year, it's for the 26-27 school year. I can't tell you what's going to be recommended. We're doing a full study. The leaders of that study are Peter Rattine, Director of Special Projects, Christina Visi, Principal of Constable School, and Rob Sears, our K-12 Music Supervisor. I will tell you already, they are extremely committed and doing an incredible job so far getting us ready. And I believe we have meetings ready to keep booting. So we have members, Raja and Deepa and Laura are on that. I know that. I don't know, anyone else? Did I miss anyone? I think that was it. So anyway, a lot of stuff's gonna have to happen. And what we owe to the board is a clean recommendation as well as options. What I have said before, and I'm gonna say it again, you will need to redistrict or reconfigure the schools. You will. Nobody wants to hear that, but you're gonna need to do that. And the big question mark is federal funding. Article today came out that talked about there could be a reduction in federal funding. Now, I have nothing firm that says there is going to be a reduction in federal funding, but it is an unknown. So hopefully it's a non-known, a non-thing, but we'd be remiss in not thinking and planning for anything right now when it comes to the funding from the state and the federal government. Neither one, well, so far the federal government has not hurt us in any way. The state has been our biggest problem. Not our local and not the federal. It's been the state. Now, let's hope we don't add another branch to the problem. So I wanted to share with you some updates on what we're hearing. So one is we received an email from the county, I think last Friday at this point, so a week ago, called a tax incentive aid program. David and I tried to decipher it. We spoke to county BA, and we learned that other county BAs have deciphered it differently. So this is now the state reaching out to the school districts and writing such an incoherent email that even the county business administrators don't know what it means. We actually have heard that whatever it's supposed to mean is already being challenged and is currently nowhere. So I'm not going to get into what this might have been. As of right now, it is nothing. Now, one school district that we know of decided to put out a letter to their community saying that all problems are solved, we can raise our taxes by 10%, and no more problems. That is not the case. At least our understanding is this does not exist at this time. Now, it might exist, and I hope it does, to some degree, that at least gives you options. You want options. But as of right now, that incoherent message is staying incoherent and non-usable at this time. The next one are Assemblyman Fryman and Assemblywoman Drulis. They were here one night. They also helped us get an extra $500,000 last year, if you remember. They have crafted a bill, as well as Assemblywoman Andrea Katz, who has also crafted a bill. And here's the basics of the bill. So in Roy Fryman's bill, one of his key features is we have to stop thinking of only the 2% and use another metric which is more realistic, which is CPI, Consumer Price Index. Now, over the years, if we were allowed to use the CPI, when we had those big years and we would not have impacted taxes, we would have been in a much better shape right now, because CPI was at 6%, 7% even. So CPI, do you know where it is now, Dave? 3? 3.86. 3.86. So if this bill passes, you'll be allowed to, doesn't mean you have to do it, you'll have the option to do it. As also part of Roy's bill is a $67 million disbursement to any district that lost state aid. In our case, it was $427,000. It would not include the $645,000 from last year. So if both of those happen, it will be a big option for boards to help get out of this S2 continuation cycle to a degree. Like last year, remember, it saved a lot of jobs, a lot of programs last year. So Roy's back at it again, and he called me on this bill, and he is a committed member. I don't care what party anyone is. He's committed to try and do the right thing for schools. That's what he's trying to do. So this adequacy spending is another feature which is a little murky. But if you remember, we're minus $5 million in adequacy. So these bills are using the concept of adequacy as a trigger. So if you're under adequacy, you're not spending to adequacy, you trigger some of these little possibilities. I don't get too deep into this other than tell you this is what's written right now, because these things change. Last year, if you remember, the bill that finally did pass literally went to like that night of the vote. I was literally at Trenton when I kept getting updates. They were coming strolling back in as they were fighting over percentages. So I don't know where this will land, but I just want to tell you where we are. And this is from specifically from Andrea Katz's bill, Assemblywoman Katz, is to realize that a May deadline when we won't actually have all the information is insane. So she has flexibility. She's asking for them to approve a June 30th end, which would be extremely important for many things. It doesn't change some of the things you have to do on staffing side, because we have a statutory May 15th deadline to inform someone if they don't have a job. But it does give you flexibility if that bill passes. So we'll see what happens. But that's all what's going on. But this is the most important comment. None of it is in place. Nothing is currently aligned to providing any levels of support for districts like ours at this moment in time. Nothing. But I wanted to share with you what we're hearing and what we know. And that's pretty much, in a nutshell, what we got right now. Possibilities. If I go back and watch our March meeting from last year, I probably was saying about the same exact thing. We have possibilities and no answers. And if you remember the last time when we finally got an answer, it was almost the summer last year where we got the answer. I had to redo the budget, resubmit the budget, redo the meeting. If you remember all that, we had to do that into July, I think, almost. End of June. So that's where we are. Reggie, is that my last slide, Reggie? I think it is my last slide. Yeah. So that's where we are. To give you a quick, immediate timeline, on Monday night with committee, we're going to go over some specifics about where things look right now, and then start talking about some choices and seeing kind of where people want to look. At the next board meeting, we will do a more full presentation, which will lay everything out pretty solidly. That gives you enough time before you would be voting on a budget on May 1st. So that's the timeline. We have 2 more meetings in April, or is it only 1 meeting in April?
Just 1 in April.
1 in April. That's the meeting we will do a full-blown presentation with everything, all the bells and whistles. And 3 in May, but the May 1st is the budget adoption. Remember, May 8th, for those of you who have not responded yet to me, if you've already responded, I have 5. But we did add a May 8th board meeting, which is going to be a 10 to 15, it's going to be a record-breaking fast board meeting. We have to approve the personnel agenda. That's all. You do that every night. You're just going to do 1 meeting to just approve that. We'll even leave you home. Don't worry. You can do homework that night. And that'll be it. I'm not going to have a report. We're going to open the meeting, do whatever Dave tells us is the mandatory minimum, do the minimum, take a look at and vote it in and go home. That's it. If you cannot make that meeting, don't change other things around, because I have 5 people that already can. And you're going to have that in advance to see what's on the agenda anyway in advance. If you have an issue, let us know. But you're all, of course, we'd like you all to come. I just don't want, it's adding a meeting which you might already have a conflict. I don't want to cause a problem for people. I appreciate the 5 that have already let me know. Actually, I have 6 that have let me know. So that's the quorum we need. At this time, are there any questions?
I have a very quick question. So when are we getting that independent assessment of the health center? The independent assessment that you were
Yes.
speaking of. So when do you expect to present that to the board?
I don't expect to have that by the budget season, by the budget, but that's not going to change. That's not part of the budget. We're just informing you that we want you to have that information, so that if we want, and we really want it to see if there's anything we need to do to better promote or better create or make decisions about the health center that would benefit the staff and the district's finances. So that's not going to be ready in May, in April.
But you're expecting to have that before September?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely before September.
That was my question.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you just let the board know if there is a cut at the federal level, what's the dollar amount that we'll be looking at, and what does that impact?
The total amount, we'll be looking at a cut in how the state funds extraordinary aid, which we don't know how that will be impacted. For us directly impacted, we're looking at our title grants, 800, all of them together. Is that about 800,000 in title grants and 2.1 million in IDEA in extraordinary. But our first, so the direct money that comes to David every quarter is title grant money broken into quarters and IDA money broken into quarters. Do we have all of our money this year? So this year we're covered. If there are any changes to any of those numbers, that's what you're looking at. I have zero prediction that we'd lose all that money, to be honest.
I just want everybody
But
to be aware.
it's about, at the end of the day, 3% of our operating budget
Thank you.
is federal. Thank you, guys. And remember, Monday night committee, we'll be doing this in heavy, so let's leave some time. And then our next board meeting in April will be a heavy budget presentation. All right. Remember, for me.
All right, thank you, Scott. Thanks, David. Our next order of business is new business, which you have none at this time. So we'll move on to our public comments. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Complete copies of Policy 0167, which govern this portion of the meeting, are available to the public at the auditorium entrance, online or by contacting the board office. To permit the fair and orderly expression of comments, we ask that participants be recognized by the presiding officer and preface comments by announcing his or her name, place of residence, and group affiliation if appropriate, and by completing the sign-in sheet. Please print legibly, or we may be unable to document your name for the permanent record. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic. Mr. Pulaski will indicate when you have 15 seconds remaining. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members. No discussion between a participant and respondent shall extend the 3-minute time limit. It is our plan to listen to each member of the public. Once all questions and comments from all members of the public are made, the Board of Education may respond or respond via email in the most timely and efficient manner available. All questions and comments made will be noted. Mr. Pulaski, do we have any pre-registered speakers?
We do not.
Are there any audience members who wish to make a public comment?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Owen Bosker. I'm a sophomore at South Brunswick High School. I've been looking into the state, specifically just like the state's financial stability over the past like maybe week or so. And while my research is kind of like surface level so far, but from what I can see, the state, it's not just, I don't think it's just us backed in a corner. The state is also in serious trouble. We're 49th in long-term fiscal stability, 45th in short-term fiscal stability, and 47th in overall fiscal stability in the union. And additionally, we've been running deficits for years on the state level, and raising taxes could just cause more of the rich taxpayers to flee to states with no income tax like Texas or Florida. With all of that in mind, since the state isn't even in a place where they can necessarily help us to the fullest, is this going to be just like a continuous rot? Are we sure, like, if there isn't some kind of like economic miracle that happens in New Jersey, is this like, are we somewhat doomed?
Thank you for your comment. Yeah, we'll answer a little bit, but
So, while all that sounds like legit info, in the last 2-3 years, the governor has given out $2.4 billion to schools, except for us. Yep. So they received $2.4 billion. Our neighbors received hundreds of millions of dollars over the last 5 years, while we lost 40% of our state aid. So the question isn't whether New Jersey was willing to devote money to schools to offset property taxes. It was to which schools were they willing to provide support to. That's been the challenge, right? That why has it worked this way? Last year they advertised an $8 billion surplus. So it's an interesting little conundrum that we find ourselves in, when our neighbors have been receiving as much as $50 million for one neighbor. And at the same time, we were losing money. So it's just a challenging situation to determine that. As far as the rest of the information you shared, I have not dove into that level, but I think your question of, is this going to be seems to be a possibly perennial problem? I believe I have said yes. But as always, thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
As there are no comments, we will close this portion of the public comment section. Next order of business is the consent agenda review by Mr. Pulaski.
All right, everybody, our consent agenda this evening is pretty concise. We have a bills list. We're approving some meeting calendars for 24, 25, and 25, 26. We have some transportation contracts and in-district tuition adjustments. We're approving some out-of-district placements and some tuition rates for schools that we host in South Brunswick. We also are accepting a donation. We have an increase in a not to exceed. We're also approving an ice hockey co-op, and we have our student field trips, HIB, harassment, intimidation, bullying report, and we have a memorandum of agreement with our bus drivers that we're approving this evening, and our personnel, and that is your consent agenda.
Any questions for Mr. Pulaski?
Clarification, the transportation being one of the big item on our budget, and I know from year over year, for the next year, what we have agreed is 2.75% increase on the transportation cost. Is there no other way for us to kind of keep it flat, considering the previous year's jump was also quite considerable?
All of the increases that we see in transportation are due to mileage, fuel costs, insurance costs, and driver rates, inclusive of maintenance, tires, brakes. So in order, when inflation rises and all of those costs and expenses go up, our transportation routes see the effects.
David,
So
we're just also asking about the agreement with First Student.
Oh, our agreement with First Student, we review that every year. We actually have them, they gave back to us this year, I believe, 2 routes that were, so they're 2 routes shorter, packages shorter than they were in previous years. So Jill Ottingnon in our transportation department, she worked closely with them, and each year we develop their routes and their packages, and that's what you're seeing in your backup this evening. So as much as they're not, as much as you might see a large increase from one year to the next, they may have taken a couple packages or provided, or we have taken some packages back. But the majority of that contract for them, it's their costs and their expenses as much as they rise. Their expenses get pushed back to us.
Okay.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Julie?
On line item 19, I just wondered who the consulting service is. What population are we using up the bar for?
Those are for our students with special needs.
Okay, thank you.
Evelyn, up the bar?
Or is up the bar?
No.
It's not special needs. It's for all students who are learning English as a first language, as well as students who speak another language at home other than English. So it's specifically for sheltered English instruction. So we're not just talking about ESL kids, but the impact of having a language speaking a language other than English, and when English is not your first, period. Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the consent agenda?
All right.
Here you go.
So may I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
Motion?
Mrs. Rogers? And Mr. Krishna. All right, roll call, Mr. Pulaski.
Ms. Julie Ferrara,
Accept.
Mr. Raja Krishna,
Yes.
Mr. Mike Mitchell,
Yes.
Dr. Smita Raj,
Yes.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers.
Before I vote, I need a point of clarification.
Okay.
On 1.4, approve renewal contracts. It is my understanding from the board president that a member of this board needs to abstain due to conflict of interest for transportation to another school, and I'd like a ruling on that, please, before I vote.
These are public school, these are
I
our
understand.
students that are transporting to and from
I understand.
South Brunswick schools.
That's why I'm asking for a point of clarification. It was my understanding that there was going to be an abstention for any student tuition or transportation or payment to another school. So I just need clarification. That's all I'm asking.
We're not making any payments.
We don't see any need for anyone to abstain.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I wanted to know.
All right.
I approve. Thank you.
Mr. Rajesh Soni,
Yes.
Mrs. Deepa Karthik,
Yes.
Ms. Laura Hernandez, absent. Motion carries.
All right. Just a comment, the next scheduled board meeting is set for Thursday, April 10th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Move. Dr. Raj? Mrs. Rogers? All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, any
None?
opposed? Yeah.
None?
I don't think so.
Okay, motion carries.
All right, motion carries.
Knock it. Do it.
Good night. Good night, South Brunswick.
Nice job, Deepa.